Hey guys, Ollie's Big Picture here, and today I want to tell you the story how I traveled with my German friends to Xinjiang in the very far west of China, how we basically founded a German Xinjiang band over there, and how we became very professional dancers in their traditional dancing culture, and how we visited a lot of different sites. I was totally surprised how many different sites is to see there. It's crazy how much culture they have there, how much is to see there. So definitely join me on this journey and let's explore together why you should, in my opinion, definitely visit TURPAN, or how they call it locally, TURPAN in Xinjiang, to explore this culture and to explore all the different sites you see here step by step with me together. How we went to the Carpet Museum, how we also went to the night market for the local food, and how I adapted the Chinese culture to use an umbrella to protect myself from the sun. And you can also see in other videos, just check out the description, how I came all the way from Hotan to Hütjen, Hütjen is Hotan, all the way to Turpan by train. You check out in the description. But nevertheless, let's start now the video about Turpan city, how I arrived here at the train station, and then from the train station I took a taxi. Basically you can see the landscape there, the burning sun through the desert all the way to the city, and the city was surprisingly super green. It was a very green city, and what is important for me to stress, I know how controversial this area is for political reason. I'm completely aware of it, and I want to show you here a glimpse into the city of Turpan before we go to the sites, because you can see how modern the city is nowadays. I was surprised how developed the city now in 2024 is. You see the infrastructure, you see the streets, everything is quite modern, everything is clean, and everything is in a good shape. I spoke to locals there, and of course we are aware, as I said, of these political issues they have. However, on the other side, they say China and the development in China brought us a very high economic increase about our salary, about education. We have now the schools, we have now the education, and we have much more opportunities to find work and to make a living. Here you can see in the city old street where they had all the different kind of foods, and the people were coming out at night, because in the day the sun, it's basically in the desert, is really burning, so the people also live a bit more outside at night after the sunset to have all kind of different foods. And in this video, of course, I'm gonna show you more about the food, about what kind of local food they eat. I'm gonna explain it to you in the further step of this video, and here you get a first idea about it, how they basically make their food, like the handmade noodles for example. And they had those huge night markets, which I will show you in a bit. However, I just would like to stress again how surprised I was, how modern and how well developed the city is. So besides every controversial they have about this area, at least you can see here the area is very well developed. Like you could see, at night the people are outside, the families are enjoying themselves. And on the next day, for the first site, we drove by a prison. We asked our tour guide, oh, what is this prison for? And he said, no, no, don't worry, this is a good prison. What means good? Good means they had a lot of issues with drugs, like heroin. And he said they built this prison a couple years ago for this heroin issue, and now there is no heroin and drugs anymore. Like here you can see we found on the villages outside of the city a traditional wedding where they were playing this kind of traditional music, and everywhere you have those vineyards, those grapes around the city where they basically harvest the grapes. And the first thing we visited was this very amazing site This site is basically built on the riverbed on the top of a mountain between two rivers. And when you arrive there, first before they bring you to the old original site, they invested a lot of money and a lot of effort to build like a replica of this city, just that you as a tourist get an idea how it was maybe supposed to look like in the past before everything break down over the centuries, and you can get a glimpse basically back in the old days. I saw they invested a lot of money. I think China really invested a lot of money there to foster the like domestic tourism. You could feel they really want the domestic tourism, but COVID probably gave them a big hit as well. And then they drive you along the riverbanks to go up the mountain, so you're on top of the mountain to see those original sites. Those original sites, when you walk on there, yes, the sun is burning. Like as you can guess, you see it's blue sky. It was way above 30 degrees, and you could see those old mud houses. Everything is basically built out of mud. They also dig like inside into the mountain so that it's cooler, and I was very impressed. You could walk around everywhere. They were still preparing some of the pathways you can see here, like the sidewalks where you can walk on basically just to go around the sites. I must admit, I was really surprised that you could walk around everywhere freely and you could touch everything. I would be really worried because everything is just basically out of mud that it breaks down. And I was worried about the sun, so I became a Chinese princess to have my umbrella. And yeah, I was not worried about my shoes anymore. Everything was super dusty, so my shoes, yeah, I put them in the washing machine afterwards. Maybe not the way to do, but it was a good way for me to clean at least my shoes. And we were spending there, I think, at least 1.5, 2 hours to walk around in the burning sun. And it was super cool. The feeling to be in this super, super old city was just astonishing to see what old culture they had there before and how long they have this old culture there already. It was super cool. I definitely recommend you to visit this site by yourself. And afterwards we visit another site. This site they call like Karas. Karas is like those water channels, and they build a museum here where you can visit and learn more about those kind of water channels. What means they have a big system of water channels all around the city, as you can see here, where they bring the water from the mountains to the city, and they build those channels, and they have everywhere those holes because they have always to maintain, to take out the mud, to take out stones or whatever they have to take out to basically keep the water flow and to keep those channels free. It was super crazy to see that for hundreds or even thousands of years they have already this very advanced channel system, and how they take care of it now by basically showing you those channels and maintaining the channels to take out the dirt, to take out the dust and whatever might block those kind of channels. And you can see as a tourist why the city is so green, as I said at the beginning of the video, how they maintain this for many, many centuries and for, yeah, basically a long time. It was super interesting to see, as I said, and it was also super funny because there we had a lot of Chinese who asked us, like locals, who asked us foreigners to take pictures together. They were super excited to see some foreign tourists because we were the only foreign tourist I saw the whole trip basically. I only met another, I think it was a German couple, but that's it. Besides that, we were the only foreigners there, and the people were super happy taking photos with us. In the evening, of course, we had to find some local food, so we went to one of their biggest food markets in the cities, and you can tell here on the video, those food markets were huge. This is just a night market where you go to eat and to drink. It was super, super big. I was surprised, but this shows again how important food is in the Chinese culture. It's basically a really big thing. But I want to take you with me to one of the smaller restaurants This is a very simple small restaurant in one of the small towns outside of the city where the people come to eat. It's super cheap. You pay maybe per person less than $3-4 to have a complete meal, and the food consists mainly, you can see here the wall to get a first impression of the barbecue. Of course, we have the barbecue sticks here. Then you have this rice with some carrots and some other stuff, and this they call fish, what was a bit spicy, but it's not fish, it's just how they call it. And we had our rice, we had our fish, some noodles, and the barbecue. The barbecue is the biggest thing we ate every day. The rice is also a big thing, but actually they also eat a lot of noodles and the bread. So it's mainly the bread, the barbecue, the rice, and some noodles. That's the main food they have. And this year, this was a very famous restaurant in the city where you get traditional dancing. I'm not sure if I can play the music for you because of some copyrights from YouTube, so I would not do it right now. But also they had on another occasion, another restaurant, they were also presenting you those traditional dance. And also you saw it in the intro of the video, they were asking us to dance with them together, and they were teaching you some very basic dancing steps. And we also had a super cute school class there. Those kids were also eating there with us together the Chinese food. You can see the huge plates. The portions are really, really big. And the next day, we had to go to the Fire Mountains. The Fire Mountains, I was really surprised, reminded me a lot on Death Valley. When I was in the US, in the Death Valley before, it's very similar from the landscape. And if you have been to Death Valley before, you saw some pictures, it's very, very similar. It's an amazing view, and it's not so much run over by tourists yet. It seems to be a very new site. So in my opinion, check it out as long as you can without a tourist, because you can also hike in the mountains, around the mountains as long as you want. They have some pathways there. And for China, there were not many people. Usually this would be much more overrun by tourists. And it looked for me, I'm not a geologist, I have no idea about it, but it looks like there was water before. It looks like there was an ocean before, or it was underwater. I don't know. It looked a little bit like this, but maybe some of you guys know why everything looks in this way. We are somewhere in nowhere right now, and even though you are here somewhere, you still have 5G, or at least 4G, but at least you get some internet here, what would never ever happen in Germany, and in America I'm not sure. The same day before we went back to the hotel, we went to a very famous site in Turpan, the Emin Minaret. The Emin Minaret was really beautiful, and we also met very kind and very nice people there. It was stunning in the sunset in the evening to look at, and we had some Chinese people who asked us again to take some photos together with them, who were super happy to see us there. And the place itself, I must say, I couldn't tell, but it seemed like it was not used for religious rituals anymore. There were no people going there for prayers, apparently. It seemed more just like a total touristy site. And with this, I like to stress again, this is not a political video. I'm just trying to tell you what we did there, what we saw there. We could move freely around. There was never that we felt like there's something in Turufan we can't go there, or like people let us not go there. This was different to Hotan. In Hotan, in my other video, you can check out, there were some old sites we were not allowed to go. We didn't understand why exactly, and there was much more police in the city. But here in Turufan, everything was fine, and we went for the next to the Carpet Museum. The Carpet Museum is really beautiful because the owner is not just basically about carpets. He also collected a lot of old antiques. You can see upstairs here the room I filmed for you. It's completely full and packed with antiques. So if you are a geek about old stuff, you definitely should go to visit there. I think you can find maybe some old treasure for yourself. And on the walls over here, you can see they also collected, of course, a lot of old carpets. So culture-wise, again, not just the museum, but in general, it's really amazing, beautiful. And this carpet museum, the owner and her daughter, they are super nice. The daughter is also speaking some basic English, and they always welcome a lot of tourists from all over the world to check out the museum. You see here the old instruments or the very famous hats. Like those hats is something very traditional. You should definitely check out to wear. A friend of mine bought this old oil lamp, and this is an old water pump. And in general, you could also see here again those machines, how they do the silk. You can check out my Hotan video where we visit the handcrafted silk museum. Nevertheless, we went on after this antique museum to go directly into the carpet production. For the carpet production, you see here they have a very big hall where they make the handmade carpets. They also have machine-made carpets, but here we definitely wanted to check out those handmade one, and they also told us they make the coloring by themselves. Like you see here, all the different fabric they use, they said everything is handmade and hand colored by themselves, and they show you around how those carpets are made. Even though it was like a holiday, they still had some workers here to perform how to make a carpet. And they said for this kind of big carpet, they need 2 person about 60 days to finish it. It's really, really a long time in my opinion. And then, of course, they have the showroom where you can buy all the different carpets. A friend of mine, he bought some carpet for another friend, and they ship it China-wide, but they can also ship it to your home country. But then, of course, you would have to take care of the tour by yourself. However, if you're interested to buy some carpets from TURPAN, just write me down in the comments and I maybe can help you to get the contact. The next, we drove the next day again into the desert, into the countryside, where you can see along the road those mud houses built into the valley, built into the mountains, basically like caves from long time ago. Unfortunately, it was not opening yet for tourism to see it, but they are preparing it for tourism. So we went on here on the street to go to our next destination. Our next destination is a very famous site in Turpan. It's very popular among tourists. And on the way there, you can see already a lot of street food sellers who sell the very typical food, like, of course, the barbecue and the naan bread. And then besides the barbecue, they also have, of course, some dried fruits and nuts. And you get the rice again, for example. This is very, very common there. And you can also sit down where they have basically the grapes, the vineyards. They are not doing the wine anymore since it's a Muslim majority over there. But before they were also doing wine. Now they do dried grapes. But also now some Han Chinese, they do the wine again. So, and yeah, here you can see you can pay with WeChat. But nevertheless, let's go on into this very famous site. What is basically an old town, an old traditional town from this area. However, this is like half old, half rebuilt, as you can see here. And it's nice and interesting to see. However, in my opinion, it was too touristy, like way too many tourists. Here we have a traditional kitchen where they prepare some food for the guests, and you can see a lot of people taking pictures for Instagram and traditional dress. Or here in China, they call it like Xiaohongshu, like little red book, what is basically the Chinese equivalent for Instagram. And this one is right in the morning, so we were lucky. Not so many people there. It was still okay to look around. I could take some pictures for my Instagram, and we asked some other people asked us to take pictures with them. You found some like influencers trying to sell some stuff online, like TikTok. And in general, as later as it got, more and more people arrived in the city, and it was for me in personal nice to see. But in the end, as I said already, way too many people. So as soon as we could, around noon, after I think 2 hours walking around in the city, we just had to get out of there and make space, because if something becomes popular in China, it's really popular, and it's basically overrun by people in the holidays. And that's the city from the top, an old town, half old, half new. What was kind of interesting though, they were selling those stones, and they were saying those stones, some of them is like asteroids from the universe that like basically crashed down on Earth, and some of them were even like, you can see here, I tried them with a magnet. They were like magnetic. So I don't know if it's true, if it's just some rocks with iron, or if it's from the universe. I don't know. I'm not an expert. And outside then there were a lot of tourists waiting and camel riding. However, it was nice, but we got out of there to a way, for my opinion, more interesting side. Along the way you could already see the amazing landscape, really, really nice. And for the next step, we went to a very old city. Apparently, I think it was one of the oldest cities and biggest cities in this region. It was super huge, I think more than 10,000 or 15,000 inhabitants by its time. And here in the museum, they were showing how the Mongols later conquered the city, because it was one of the most important cities for the Chinese Empire in the very far west. And this city itself, you can see when we enter the city, it has those huge like mud walls, like made out of mud, and they were up to 15 meters high. And the whole city is so big that they drive you around by a car. Like if you walk it, you need probably many hours to walk around. And then in some sites they stop for you, and on those sites you can just get off the car and walk around a bit and explore it by yourself completely freely. Again, I'm a little bit concerned that you can walk around and touch everything and basically break it, but well, not for me to decide. That's how they handle it over there. And you can still get a grasp idea about the structures, and they tell you a bit about, this was maybe the library before, this was before the temple for the monks, these were living houses, these were storage houses, and so on. But again, everything was in Chinese. We met a very nice like owner. He was like the manager of this site. One of my German friends, he know him, and he spoke some English. He explained to us very kind and friendly some of those sites in English as good as he could. And again, the hospitality was great and amazing to see, to go there. For the next one, we just drove around in the desert. As you can see here, the countryside was also like the filming for the Journey to the West. The Journey to the West is a very famous story in China. And then we went to Betzeklik. Betzeklik, very nice to see, definitely recommended to go. It's basically, yeah, along the Silk Road, there were like some caves. And if I understood it right, in those caves, the Buddhism, the monks were having a lot of paintings. And inside in those, you can see here, and those paintings you can see, also some of them you can find now in the German museum. And here they state this was like robbed by the Japanese and the Germans, basically to take it to their museums, as we saw in Berlin. 1 year ago, I also went to Berlin to see this kind of exhibition about it. These are basically the wall pieces. You could see what I just showed you before. And then, of course, you had some very nice view over the area. It felt super nice to be there, and you had this very nice old man we started our own band with. This was a very short introduction about Turpan. In the next step, I went to Urumqi, Urumqi. Check out my other video in the description, and I hope you got a good impression. See you in the next one.